What's going on down there?
In fact, I'm leading this in right now. Hi, welcome everyone. It's WTF at TCG. It's February 6th, 2020 when we're recording this. It'll go up after that. But we got Aaron here with me, as always. Aaron.
Hey.
Welcome.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah, well, thank you. And we're also joined by a regular co-podcaster on these TCG podcasts, Drew Nolosco from Wizards of the Coast. Hey, Drew, how is it hanging?
Hello, everyone. Hey, Chris. Hey, Aaron. How is it going?
Oh, not bad, not bad. I was just playing cards last night, so this is all fresh in my head.
Oh, you mean you were playing Transformers cards?
I was playing Transformers trading card games.
What is there another card game to play?
No.
Oh, I don't know. We certainly don't make another one.
Nope.
Nope.
Never heard of it. They were actually playing that on the table across from us, and they came over to look at ours because we were having louder fun.
And our cards are larger.
True. Yeah. They are bigger, and 3 people brought Devastator decks, so we were legit bigger.
3 people brought Devastator decks?
But I always have one, and I hadn't run it for a while, so I thought I'd run mine, and then it turns out right before I'd run mine, someone else was running one to my left for a game, and then after my game, someone else broke one out. So we were saying, hey, what's with all the Devastator decks? Where were these for the last month?
Were they all black pip heavy?
Oh yeah, I think one of them might have been doing something else, but generally we're all very orange black, self-sacrifice decks. Lots of that erratic energy grenade. Lots of involuntary promotions.
Can predict that Devastator would come more into his own once he had double back black pips available to him.
Oh yeah. I had crowbars in for a bit, and then I actually pulled a couple out for involuntary promotions, but. It's fun. I just need to get some more training in with him because I noticed that the 2 times I played him, I was always getting to Tower 9 and then combining, and I want to be Tower 10 and combine. So I got to get some more practice in. But we're also here to talk about the upcoming Wave 5 that had just a flurry of reveals in the last week. Tidalmasters Attack. It's coming out on April 17. It brings in Tidalmasters, who are a whole lot like Headmasters. In fact, it's a very interchangeable word if you're just talking to a regular fan. And those of you who are coming in from the card game side, if you say Headmaster, we don't get mad. We say it too. Mm-hmm. But the Tidalmasters bring a whole mechanic with them. One of them's a promo card. Another promo card is a combiner. There's also stratagems. We're probably not going to go right through every single individual thing because it was last week through till today. But Drew, I wanted to talk to you first about how the approach to this whole set was going. This was described as a throwback set, and it also to me seems like it's once again doing this game's, I think, wonderful thing of having the power creep go outwards rather than upwards, where the theme of this set seems to be very granular character customization, and if they're not Tidalmasters, you got stratagems to do kind of the same thing.
That's exactly it. So it's throwback from the sort of Transformers theme, but the mechanical impetus behind the design here is exactly as you noted, which is to offer significant team customization and deck customization options. Tidalmasters, someone did the math for us in public, but it's, there's like 120 or more different possible head and body combinations. So there's once you see all of the heads and all of the bodies, there's so many different ways to slice and dice down to a very fine deck building level. So people who really do have interest in that, it's like, I really wish I could save a star here so I could add in this other card. Well, now you can. You can choose a 2-star head instead of a 3-star head if you want that.
Yeah, and I get the impression that the heads, from the effects we've seen on the 3 we've seen so far, it seems like it would even be as simple as, I've got a tough 3 head, I want to save a star. Maybe there's a tough 2 head I could grab instead.
For the major keywords, there's definitely some of that. Okay. And most of the heads are, since this is the first time we've introduced this mechanic, they are things that you might imagine in varying levels of power. There are a couple of ones that you probably aren't going to necessarily expect, but particularly when it comes to the basic keywords of the Transformers TCG, yes, there is granularity, and it's like, well, I guess tough 3 costs this on a head, and some of the heads we play around with the bot mode a little bit. So, for example, there's a head that has Pierce on his bonus, and the head has Pierce on the other side. Whereas many of the bot sides of heads are vanilla creatures. We do definitely start play with that a little bit. So yes, and then stratagems add in this additional layer of deck building choices. We just, as the day of the recording this, revealed finally, after I've been teasing it for like I don't know how long, Jurassic Punch, which is Volcanicus's stratagem. And there's a couple others out there, and you'll as characters come out who have stratagems, like the characters in Titan Masters Attack, we'll reveal them alongside the character, so you can see the deck building options that the stratagem provides. And then for the throwback stratagems that are looking backwards to characters from older sets, we'll toss them out there, and so you'll get a good sense of the box that stratagems kind of live in right now, and it's a pretty darn large box, from radical different abilities like Volcanicus's to upgrades to a character's game mechanic like Orbital Strike for Cosmos, to stratagems that there's a couple stratagems that just give raw stats to the character.
Okay. Oh, cool.
Yeah, cool. It's like, oh, would you like the beefed up version of this character? Sure, pay for it. Now you can choose that option.
And I guess this is a quick question, because there's been so much coverage so fast. I've not been my usual self keeping up with literally everything, but I'm not sure if this has been answered elsewhere. Are stratagems generally carrying a star cost with them?
Always carrying a star cost.
Okay.
So that does mean that a couple of the 25-star things in Transformers Past will not get a stratagem, at least now. We did so, for example, Metroplex, who was a character we seriously considered having a stratagem for. But for this first release of stratagems, which is a card type that you will see, it's going to become an evergreen part of the Transformers trading card game. For now, these stratagems all bear a star cost. We had definitely considered during the early design process drawbacks to balance good things on a stratagem where the drawback was not a star cost. But that's a little bit too complex for their first introduction. So if this set doesn't have stratagems for characters that total up to 25 stars, and that includes some combiner teams that totaled 25 stars naturally.
Yeah. And it's good to know that already the approach is they'll be evergreen, because I think that makes the anxiety a bit lowered about, like, oh, well, who's getting a throwback, and does that mean the other ones never will?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't at all mean that this is the only time this is not the set list of characters from the past who'll get them. And it's something we'll keep evaluating in the future.
Cameron Edishami is the first one I saw use the wording, and I thought it was a cool way to put it. It was kind of like a gamified version of an errata that is not quite as, cold, basically. It's not just text on a page. It's, here is a way that, instead of just tweaking something, we'll wildly alter it, but add a star cost to it.
Yep, that's a really good way to put it. I had seen that note as well. And we're thinking about it in those terms. We together have talked before about how much we value that cards, as much as possible, say what they do and play the way they say. And stratagems are a way of not having errata text that's not on the card muddle up and confuse players. It's right there. You can read what it says.
Going off this is a quick one, but off of a previous conversation, one of our first podcasts, I just really need to get it off my system. One of us had floated the idea of what if there were headmasters that were little head cards that you put over a headless body artwork. And so seeing this reveal, I had one of those moments of, I wonder if that was on a whiteboard behind you the entire time we were talking sometime last year.
Yes, it was. We knew that Titan Masters would be a relatively early, like year 1 or year 1.5 theme. There was some juggling around, right? Like, because we want to make sure that we're timing the not throwback sets so that when our Big Brother Transformers brand is talking about characters and stories, that we can time that well. But so we knew it was coming, and we knew roughly the shape that it was going to come in once we had settled on small character tech. So yes, I recall that was one of those moments where I was like, I need to keep it shut.
Yeah, I mean, I think there have been other less obvious ones where I kind of had moments thinking like, there's ways to read short and silent answers, and ways to also have those used against us as good red herrings.
Yep, I'm not too great on the poker face, so I probably wouldn't googly-eyed when you said, but I also have that moment of like, I need to keep, like, do I say something cute? No.
Yeah.
Now is not the time. But good guess. It was spot on.
That packaging, I just always remembered like the way the art style worked. It seemed like it would jive with this, and it clearly does. But then also with new pieces of art like promo Arcana, it's kind of cool to see, on Arcana, the head mode, it's a new piece of art. It didn't follow the packaging style 100%. So on Arcana, that head is slightly askew. It's tilted slightly to one side.
Yes. And so Arcana is really interesting because I think the most common question about Arcana is, why is Arcana a Decepticon? Mm-hmm. And in Titan's Return, the toy line, Arcana was not Brainstorm's head partner. That character was Teslar. And there have been a number of storylines, and a lot of them are from the IDW comics. Sorry, a number. There have been several storylines in the IDW comics where Brainstorm and Head, which may or may not have been named in the story at the particular time, were revealed to either be an undercover agent or a double agent or actually a Decepticon in disguise as an Autobot for reasons like... And we were looking for some deep cut head for the release day kit, the participation prize. And I think Matt Smith came up with that one. It was like, hey, there's this cool thing where the head might have been a Decepticon, even though we know it's an Autobot. So that's why we did that one. And yes, it is admittedly a super deep cut.
Mm-hmm. It's been a lot of fun seeing people react and then get informed, and then at times get more confused as they're being informed.
Yes. And honestly, I didn't realize that it would raise... I should have, but I didn't realize how many questions it would raise about Brainstorm. I'm like, where's Brainstorm? It's like, sorry.
Oh, right. Yeah, I mean, I saw some of the responses where people were saying, like, well, what about the body and things? And obviously there's a way that things are going to be revealed, but it's, you don't have to answer this one. I would say if Arcana is a promo card, it's not unreasonable arithmetic that there's probably a Brainstorm.
Well, there might be. So we certainly weren't able to cover all characters who were either Headmasters or Titan Masters, and in this set. And just like combiners, it's something that you'll likely see. Again, this is a fun thing that we can do. About Arcana's head being tilted to the side, and I am literally looking through all of them right now, so I don't say something stupid. Hold on, scrolling.
Anyone that's a potential change has got a head tilt so that you know that. Hold on, let me get out the red yarn.
No. I believe there's a very small number of heads that we pulled from the Titan Masters Return, like a very small number that we pulled from Titan's Return toy line. The sort of like the smallest package you could buy was just a Titan Master head by itself, and it came with some kibble. But we have a few of those in here. Arcana's one of them, or at least in that style. And I believe all of those, the heads are tilted so that there's this sort of, oh my god, there's a little like slight nod to them not being attached, partnered with a body character in this set.
That actually makes sense to me, as if those standalone Titan Masters have any representation, back when that line came out, they didn't have individual box art, at least on the final packaging. They all had the Fortress Maximus head on their packages, so they would be candidates for new artwork should any be represented.
However, Cerebros' head is also tilted to the side a little bit, although that works with the art for Fortress Maximus, so it is what it is.
Yeah, I think it'll mostly just be. Actually, I'm really pleased with Flip Flip Bang Bang, UK based site and an account. They've been doing a lot of work, just making a chart of who worked on what artwork wise. So I no longer have any real like burning worries of like, oh, but who did this? Like I'm looking forward to seeing post launch probably the finished thing of like who worked on what. I've been really enjoying how much fresh artwork there is in these sets, even when in this throwback set there is some more cross pollination. There's still like all the promo cards having fresh artwork. I notified the Tidal Wave fandom, who are a classy bunch, that there's fresh Tidal Wave content appearing.
Some of them appeared in one of the threads on the Transformers TCG page. I'm pretty sure it was someone who I didn't recognize. I mean, I don't know all the players, but I know a lot of the people who post regularly.
Yeah.
No, that Tidal Wave art is great. That was done by Keyword Studios in Montreal. Mm-hmm. And it was really cool. We got to work with Ken Christensen a lot on this set, who had done some of the Titans Return box art.
Oh, yeah, so you get that kind of stylish... I guess like there's some linking stylishness to it.
Very much so.
And like Tidal Wave also is kind of took me by surprise because obviously there was at least a day where we saw the nameless version of the WPN promos and it said 3 cards that are a combiner, and so I was thinking, well, gold foil promo Omega Supreme, or hey, maybe I landed in Fairyland and they made me a variant Omega Supreme. But this is a better ending to that story because I also love Tidal Wave.
I love Tidal Wave too. It's one of my favorite toys.
Yeah.
I am something that we have never really talked about is I'm a really, really, really big naval history fan and play naval games, and I visit museum ships, and I love fantasy and sci-fi boats, of which there aren't a ton. And so I've always loved Tidal Wave. And Ken and Matt came up with the design for Tidal Wave, and it is now my favorite deck to play.
Okay,
it's been exciting. Basically, the entire group I play with regularly right now. We all came in last night. It just timed perfectly, and just due to various things, I'd spent the night before not having actually read properly his text. So I got in that day saying, "Hey, I just saw the part where the deployed quote unquote minicon gets to attack as well," and that just we had a lot of ideas.
Oh yeah, and just so it's clear, the Tidal Wave combiner trigger is your second character getting KO'd, which can include the guys you've deployed.
Yeah.
So it's very possible, and in fact, depending on how you're choosing to build your Tidal Wave deck, very, very possible for Tidal Wave to combine with almost full health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Between that and we already were trying to figure out, we were having what we call some galaxy brain ideas about a combination of Peace Through Tyranny and Tidal Wave's combination trigger effect of tapping an enemy.
There's a lot of really interesting things. Like there's not many ways to tap down an opposing character, and Tidal Wave does it and can smash.
Yeah.
I also am relaying this from a friend of mine, but I agree with him as well. Like with Triptychon, it's nice to see a big promo character be 24 stars to leave that one extra star to kind of play with.
Yep, and Tidal Wave doesn't have a stratagem. That extra star is something that you can use for a star battle card.
Mm-hmm. We a couple of us are really big fans of having kind of a preset character roster, be it a combiner team where you have that extra star or two to kind of play around. It's made Omega Supreme interesting for us too,
and we like that design very much. It wasn't something that you saw a lot in earlier combiners because they were like 5 and 6 character teams, and there's just no way to save a star.
Yeah,
without making each of the team members unacceptably weak. We needed that star. But when we talk about 3-part combiners, I was going to say in 4-card, there really aren't that many 4-part combiners at all in Transformers.
Yeah, not really.
No, especially if you restrict it to, which we do, to generations and generations adjacent stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some 2-part combiners that are possible, and there also you get the, we like it when there's a little flex space left over for either stars cards or a 4-star or 5-star character to partner up. It makes for more varied design. You still get the oomph from the combiner, but you get variance in the games. God, I love variance in games.
Oh yeah. Well, even being able to preset different, I always call them the mini cons because that's kind of what they're unofficially occupying on Tidal Wave. Like, it's restricted to what types they are, but being able to flip through those, leaving room for a 4-star helicopter who currently doesn't exist. It's nice to see that he's going to be something you can play around with for waves to come.
There was definitely debate amongst the team as to whether the carrier should also be able to deploy 4-star starships and spaceships. And just going through the lists, that number's really tiny. There really aren't that many. And if you exclude minicons, which as of now we are, that number's really tiny. And so we ended up not including 4-star spaceships. But we certainly did talk about it.
Yeah. And 4-star also is I had this conversation immediately because I told a friend of mine, I understand it would probably break it and I haven't even thought about it, but boy, it would be fun if I could just deploy one of the 5-star lords off of those guys. And then he said, yeah, but think about if you could just deploy Fireflight.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that would bust it completely. But
that is literally why it's 4 stars. We tested it at 5. It is not viable unless you have to pay stars to put it there. And that it felt like this was a specific gimmick that we wanted to work for no additional star cost.
Yeah.
So
I love it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to messing with him a lot. And a friend of mine is Eric is very excited about this as this kind of small level customizability on a kind of preset team deck is something that he's wanted, and it was probably his biggest criticism of the Optimus Maximus team is he wanted to be able to do some more cool stuff with them, but it was kind of like you're either running them or you're just running members of the team.
Yep.
And that's it. So this is way up his alley.
And by putting it as a promo card, this basically will get pretty wide distribution. Most players who go and play, each successive night that this is offered as the participation prize will be able to collect and play Tidal Wave. So we'll be able to get a lot of data from players on this. But it is something we are very keen on seeing how it works in the wild.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm also, I put the word out, but I'll say it here too. If you're just a Tidal Wave fan, you don't play the game, and you just want new Tidal Wave stuff, go find a game store and make sure they're getting this, because promo cards are not a battle to get a hold of. You just need to have a gaming store. They've got to be WPN, and you just got to tell them, hey, I want to play some Transformers. You do probably have to go in and play, and go in and play. It is fun. Obviously, I'm a little biased, but it's exciting to see Tidal Wave just getting any love. He popped up in the IDW comics briefly, kind of near the end of the last continuity, and that was exciting as well.
He was a boss in the PlayStation 2 game.
That is, I think, probably not to diminish his other appearances. That is, to me, kind of the Tidal Wave moment, where you play on a level and then it stands up and it's him.
Yeah.
It was exciting to see him.
If I recall correctly, you are actually sailing on Tidal Wave, not knowing that it's Tidal Wave, right?
Yeah, you're heading to quote unquote Megatron's battleship to try to stop a plan that he's up to, and then you're trying to get to the bridge, and then when you get to the bridge, a cutscene starts, and you get ejected out of the bridge.
Yep.
And then
on a less serious note, we considered having, as part of the combining text, and yell Tidal Wave at the top of your lungs.
Oh, I think that's a house rule. I think that's house rulable.
Yeah. That would be very flavor appropriate for Tidal Wave.
Yeah. Now, the only other thing I thought about with Tidal Wave, which gets well into the world of unreasonable, because I don't know how the physical physics would work, is I was like, oh, it'd be cool if there was a way to combine them into the combined ship and then flip that into Tidal Wave, but that also is in reverse of how unfolding cards would work. So,
right. This is a challenge that we have for Transformers who have basically an in-between third mode. Mm-hmm. And it's a challenge that we face it with Skylinks, and we faced it with Tidal Wave, and there are several others that have this. Like, they're not a triple changer, not in that way, but they have another mode, and in many cases, we're going to have to pretend that other mode is not part of this version of the character. Pretend it's going to be not part of this incarnation of the character. Mm-hmm. And maybe it will in a future incarnation. Like, I could also Titan-sized Tidal Wave, and no plans, just speculation. Yeah. A Titan-sized Tidal Wave whose one side is the combined boat and the other side is Tidal Wave. Like, that could also work, and was something we had talked about. But I think the combining aspect of this particular character is more important. Little pieces into big bot than little pieces into bigger boat.
I think it also makes for more interesting gameplay. Nothing against playing a Titan character, but like this approach, the 3-into-1 with deploying two characters, there's just so much more going on, and so much more stuff interacting with each other. It excites me a bit more. And I mean, if you want to get into it, eventually someone might just tell you, well, you could also do Weaponizer Tidal Wave off of his Armada appearance when he would turn into a backpack for Megatron.
Tidal Wave has had some of the largest size variants any character.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's more or less most of the stuff that's been revealed so far, along with two of the Wreckers. That's a faction we've got back in the game. Well, I
hear you're happy about that.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy. The guys over at Wreck and Rule, I think, might have flipped a house over.
I believe they did. I had a very brief interaction with that team, and there was some happy joy going on.
Yeah. I think I told them that they're. I checked with the police, and they're legally allowed to be the loudest and most uproarious about this, and the most, yelling about it every time they say anything. This entire spoiler season, it's been cleared. It's legal.
All right. Well, then let's give a little minor spoiler to taunt them.
All right, let's do it.
Sergeant Cup is not the only Wrecker character to have the tag leader in Titanmasters Attack.
There's a very small margin of where that could go, and I'm sure that those guys know where that could go.
Rack and Ruin?
No, definitely not those two. Those two are, talk about characters that are a challenge to do correctly.
Yeah.
Like,
weird side-by-side combiner, but it starts together and then just never comes apart.
And then they don't transform, and then they don't convert into anything?
Yeah.
Like, because Rack and Ruin lost their conversion ability at some point.
In the comics, yeah, they actually had a very strange resurgence in the Cyberverse cartoon where I've never seen it said they can't transform.
They just never have.
They just don't.
Yep. They stack boxes, and the boxes always get knocked over. That was the joke for the entire second season.
Just waiting for him to say something about cabbages, but
nope, just boxes.
Yeah.
That's good to know, because also Wreckers tend to be Autobots, and Autobots with leader get to run the Matrix, and I've been having fun with the Matrix of late.
That is true. No, I didn't know that you were having fun with the Matrix, but they do get that ability. But the Decepticons get a card in this set that specifically cares about Autobot leaders being in play.
Ooh. That's a different angle than I was expecting the rest of that sentence to go.
Yep.
Actually, we were just telling, again, this is going off the Arcana discussion, but the fellow who we were teaching about the comic books was also, I think this is the same discussion, was asking about if there was ever a Decepticon Matrix, and we told him, like, there's actually been 2 fake ones, 1 real one, and Unicron's Matrix of Chaos, so if that ever became a thing, there's plenty to pull from.
There absolutely is. I don't, man, fake Matrix is so weird. Like, because
in a card game, what would that really mean?
That's exactly it. It's like, this utility slot is now occupied by something that explicitly doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
Except confuse Autobots. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, and then we'll pull in a confusion mechanic with a 2d6 roll on leadership because we're adding that stat.
I mean, we figured out how to do
itself in the struggle. I don't.
Yeah, we figured out how to do the Crystal of Power in this set. So,
yeah, that was that. I always forget that early art spoiler had happened.
Yes, that early art spoiler did happen, and that is the Crystal of Power.
Yeah, with a Megatron whose toy identity we were chillingly able to trace. When in my case, it's actually based on the squiggles on his chest, but he also had some stuff around his head. And if you know it, you know it.
Yeah, there's very few versions of Megatron that have the squiggles like that. Although that particular piece of the art, probably because the reference photo that we provided to our team didn't have the sort of backpack bits that the actual Titans Return Megatron does. So I know there was a little bit of discussion about it. Are they just mishmashing stuff together? No, it's probably like we could have provided slightly better reference.
Yeah, I mean, also, whether or not the backpack is right, a Megatron with those kind of chunkity things around his head, there's only one, really. I say tugging at my collar and adjusting my glasses. Off of what we got so far, I actually had a couple really weirdly middling rules questions based on a lot of this.
All right, let's see if I can answer them.
They're mostly based on what would be for a tournament deck construction rules. And this might be something I just missed in all the coverage. The first one being with Titan Masters. When you're doing a deck list, obviously you would write the Titan Masters down. Is it also locked in who they start with, or is that something you're deciding when you sit down to play each game?
So we will publish a rules update as usual prior to, and I am not, in this particular instance, the best person to answer all of these questions. It may be good for us to get Matt or Ken on board for one of these to have those discussions.
Okay.
I don't want to misspeak, but there is an answer, and I should have been prepped for it.
No worries. It really these came up yesterday while I was playing and kind of talking, having conversations and then having one-sided conversations with myself at the same time. I was thinking about that, and with Tidal Wave, because this starts the game with insert under it and it doesn't name the characters. Is that also something where we're deciding per game, or is that going to be part of a deck list? Would be my other question.
I believe with Tidal Wave, you can have different small characters as per the normal sideboard rules, and then in between games, switch the characters that start underneath Tidal Wave.
Okay. Those are, I think, the main two questions that probably, once a major event after the set launches happens, those are probably going to be the big ones, because stratagems are straightforward. They're part of a deck. They're not towards the deck count, but they're part of the star cost, so I'd assume they're locked in.
Yes, but I believe, please don't quote me, I believe, as I say, as I'm being recorded on air, I believe you can, since they're part of the star cost and start in the battlefield, you can swap them in and out with appropriate characters.
Okay.
But I believe, like, if you have a character in your sideboard who could have a stratagem, you could have the stratagem in your sideboard as well, provided that every match is total star count.
Okay.
As per sideboarding rules.
Yeah, I'm sure, like you said, like this is going to be something that gets covered in a full on document closer to release. But
yep.
Yeah, those were really my big questions going into this recording, because I also I just looked at all the heads and thought, their character names, but it's Tidal Wave, where I was sitting there going, like, is this going to be like olden pre-Wishboard days where I just have a box with all the Micromasters and just bring that with me everywhere?
I think a couple of things that I have seen asked quite a lot is body mode is not equal to bot mode.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Those are separate, and there are cards in the set that refer to body mode, bot mode, or both. And heads and bodies must be paired. So you can't start the game with a head and bot mode, and you can't start the game with a headless body.
Yeah. And I mean the moment I was sitting there thinking about something that this answered, that stratagem went up of swap heads, which I'm looking forward, once we know the whole roster and some of the really smart players get their fingers into it. Swap heads feels like it would enable some pretty kooky stuff.
And I think I said this before, somewhere publicly before, but early Titan Master design, we had tried out a more lower cost Titan Master body head combinations in play at once, and there was more swapping of heads back and forth. So, stuff like, my character's getting attacked now, I can use this triggered ability to swap the defense head onto that character. And the problem that we found is that it pushed the power level of any given head body combo down so low that it just wasn't interesting. Like, why would I play this guy in the first place? He sucks. It's like, well, because you could get 3 of them and swap the heads around. It's like, I'd rather just play somebody else.
Yeah.
So we preserved some of that original design intent in the stratagem swap heads as an optional thing if you wanted it. But many decks are going to have one Titan Master. Some decks will have 2. It's unlikely that you will play 3 full Titan Master head body combos, even though I think star costs make that.
Okay, I was curious about that as one of those screwdriver in the door things, because it seemed like, just going off the 2 reveals we had so far, with a full suite of abilities on both sides of both cards, these guys were coming out to at least around 10 stars, if not 11 or 12, or more. Actually, I forgot that Twin Twist was a 9-star body.
Yeah, we kind of look at this as together. A body and a head should be a regularly priced, good, powerful character, and you get to whatever combination that is. The final star cost should make sense, and you're like, if this was not printed as a Titan Master, it's like, that seems reasonable to me.
Yeah.
And we kind of want that to be true in every single case, in every combination, and obviously some heads pair better with some bodies just mechanically.
Yeah. That actually reminds me, I think this was laid out in one of the solicit texts, but with the way the booster packs are laid out, where you're getting either a character and a stratagem or a body and a head,
yes.
Are the body and heads always going to be the ones that are tied together, or is that going to be...
They are rarely the ones that are tied together. It's random.
Okay.
I wasn't, because my first thought was, how on earth would collation work between large and small cards if they were also matching up sets of them?
It's technically feasible, just requires resources to do. But it's more important to us to present the idea of customization via presenting non-canonical pairs as your first experience is opening it, because not everybody opens up the internet and checks the groups and finds the rules.
Right.
A lot of people just play at the kitchen table, and so we need to take them into account. And if we just paired, say, Flint, Lock, and Cup every single time, you might think that was the way to play.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's actually quite the opposite. So
that actually makes me really curious about limited formats now. Once the packs are out, I'm curious how that's going to run, because that means that you're not getting just like, I got this character in this pack. Like it's that granular customization happening.
Yep. And for like 6-pack sealed, you're probably going to get 3 bodies and heads. So there's definitely some double layer of customization. What else? Oh, hey, did you guys take a look at Jurassic Punch?
Yeah. I was doing some brainstorming on Jurassic Punch, actually right before we were recording. Because I was sitting there trying to figure out ideas. I've always been poking at Volcanicus since Wave 2 as kind of like a side thing, and then poking at Grimlock from Volcanicus as another side thing. And I was noticing, like I was thinking about it. Volcanicus, if I remember right, is 39 stars when he's combined. So that means he's probably going to have bold 30 in a lot of cases. Like if you're just going to come up with a number.
Yeah.
And one of the Volcanicus strategies, of course, is the inverted strategy. But I got to thinking, if you have a deck where you have, say, 6 to 8 orange pip cards, that orange pip direct damage ability is only on that first attack he does, and he'll probably flip almost your entire deck over.
Yep.
So it doesn't really matter if he's getting plus attack off of that as well, so much as he's dealing 6 to 8 direct damage and then doing his base 7. So I was thinking, just for the inverted strategy, it means that it's not as critical to get that perfect timing of, and I got inverted on Volcanicus, the same turn that you get him put together, because then you'll flip inverted when you turn your deck over and pick it up then, and then his next attack with bold, enormous, could be inverted empowered to then be primarily orange instead of primarily blue. I had some ideas going through my head about that.
In general, what we wanted to do with this card was not make Volcanicus deal more damage, because when you combine Volcanicus, he does a fair amount of damage. We wanted to condense down how Volcanicus, or how many card slots in your deck have to be devoted to Volcanicus does damage, right, to 1. So that you, like, when you're flipping 20 plus cards, if you flip 7 or 8 orange, that's great. You're probably going to kill your opponent, the character you're fighting. Which means you can devote a lot more of your deck to things to keep Grimlock alive and help Volcanicus get into play.
Yeah.
And that's the real purpose of this card. Not so you can deal 100 damage with Volcanicus.
I was noticing it was in my, I'm doing some solitaire playing and messing around with stuff. It also kind of got me out of the idea of, even though it's the thing, I feel like it's almost a deck building trap now to convince yourself, like, I've got to do the wave 1 sludge, I still function full heal. Because that also opens up 3 more slots in the deck if you just decide to leave that alone.
Yes, and you may not want to put weapons in this deck at all if you're using Jurassic Punch. Like, you just don't need them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was, what was the other thing? It was the 3 white pip upgrades from Siege 2. Because I generally run it with Grimlock, Swoop, and Slug. And I feel like Slug is kind of secretly the keystone character because of his flip 3 on a white pip instead of flipping 2, with the natural 3 defense. And then I was thinking, if you put those white pip reactive upgrades in, I tried adaptive plating, and I had I think 9 or 10 white pip cards, and I noticed it's not hard for him to then have 5 to 7 defense up, which again is helpful.
Yeah,
this is why we made stratagems. This very discussion is so that a character who was underpowered but loved, like, people really wanted Volcanicus. We wanted Volcanicus to work, and we really didn't do a great job with it in the end. It's so that this can spark completely different deck building thoughts than the original character. And some stratagems do that to a very obvious degree, and some stratagems do it to a very subtle degree. But that is the purpose of stratagems.
Yeah, it surprised me, because I had the initial reaction, again, thinking of Volcanicus must then full heal and must get inverted on, where I felt like, I still don't know how I get to Volcanicus all the time. And then I thought, if we don't spend the extra turn pulling in wave 1 sludge, and if we don't have 3 slots that are pipless with I Still Function, and you just decide, I'm going to focus on Grimlock attacks twice, and then Grimlock is technically expendable after that, It makes it feel like it's on less of a thin wire.
Yep.
I also had a combo idea off this, and this might be very silly. And I think I got the ruling right. If Grimlock had Anticipation Engine and then attacked, his 2 triggers at the same time would be pull in a Dinobot to KO and then reveal the top card, and if it's an action, play it. And if you say planned to get that top card to be swap missions, and then that untaps Grimlock and taps Swoop, who's next to him, and Grimlock still attacks, then that's, I feel like, the safest cheat and attack with Grimlock plan that you could have. But it involves a whole ton of cards.
It does involve a whole... So it's like one of those combos that's like, this is doable.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen frequently. I was just playing like Protect Grimlock. So loaded up a whole bunch of armor and similar things, and keep him going and just sort of slog it out that way, because you can make Grimlock tougher to kill if you don't need to spend slots doing other things.
Yeah. And if he only needs to attack twice, I do feel like that if with between that and Jurassic Punch meaning Volcanicus's attacks are deadly, it feels like it does lift that deck up a lot more. It doesn't pull it into that utter top tier, but I feel like it hangs with some of my favorite mid tier stuff where the combination does make your opponent be on a timer, as opposed to before where the combination then meant you're on a fresh timer of trying to equip Volcanicus with stuff.
Yeah, it's and if it hits that sort of, I am happy to play this in weekly events and fun games with my friends, whereas before it was like, Volcanicus is just useless. I think this has done its job.
Yeah, I'm going to give this a few tries next week, just assuming the stratagem is there, but otherwise just building a Volcanicus deck, because it is the most excited I've been to play around with him again since Wave 2.
I am super excited to bring Cosmos back out.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, Cosmos got a laser.
Yeah. It got a good chance for that warm-ups, because you always have the super cannons have that like, well, now he gets another like 3 seconds of no, but really, and then I missed the trigger by one card and cry.
Well, that's on you. That's on you.
So now that Jurassic Park is revealed, we have to figure out what is Drew's next most favorite card name in this set without giving away way too much. So ironically, it is also somewhat Dinobot related, although it doesn't have anything specifically to do with Volcanicus. I would say my next favorite card name is me Grimlock, you Grimlock.
That's given me a whole lot of thoughts about the other half of the Volcanicus puzzle, but that I would just say that sentence over again. That's giving me a whole lot of thoughts about. Is that perhaps next on the menu of the various menus of things that are being revealed as time goes on?
It'll get revealed at some point, probably sooner than later. But
now that he's outed himself,
yeah.
Here's the big important question: is there a comma in that card title or a semicolon?
Ha! That is an excellent question, and I am not going to tell you the answer to that.
No! Oh crap! Facebook group is going to light up. This is the new Rumble is Red, Frenzy is Blue. Yeah, this is exciting to look forward to. I am assuming that there's going to be some. Obviously, there's different tiers of. Oh,
that was the best possible question you could ask.
I'm assuming that there's always different weights of reveals, and like IGN doing the big opening one and etc. Would it be unreasonable to say that with Toy Fair coming up, that's probably going to time with some kind of weighted reveals?
No, not really. So it's coincidental that we're starting the main reveal season on the week of February 18th, but
okay,
it's not specifically Toy Fair related. There'll be Titanmasters attack. Excuse me, hiccups on the shelf with the Transformers product, as it's been for every year in the Hasbro showroom. But we're not doing a big Toy Fair thing for this year.
Okay. So are any of you guys able to make it over, or is this just going to be product in person?
I will be there for business meetings, but not so much to like be on the show floor.
Okay. Well, I hope you have a good time, because that, as always, that event has snuck up on me. That's in like a week and a half.
I'm from New York, so I'm always happy to go home.
Yeah. Hopefully our sort of randomized sudden spurts of freezing rain will have abated by then. Which, like Aaron was talking about, it's weird. Like, it hasn't actually been a frigid winter. It's just been every now and then a weekend happens where it turns out we're all staying inside.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can play Transformers.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Get my deck building done. Well, Aaron, anything else about Titan Masters Attack you want to try to wiggle a screwdriver on? Maybe ask some questions about?
No, the one thing I did want to give some kudos on, that you showed off what the back of the stratagem cards look like, and they're full art.
Thank you. That was Shanna Duncan, the art director. She was looking for a way to show off our in many cases, really good Transformers art, whether it was from us or Hasbro or partners. And I love that idea.
Give her a crisp high five from a person she has no idea who it is.
Will do.
In fact, 2 of them.
Will do.
The only other thing I can think of is, Drew, I don't know if you've already gone through it and it's in boxes now, but after release, it would be fun to find out what that booster box you took a photo of actually had in it.
That's actually recorded somewhere. So whoever not recorded on tape, video, but someone guessed. I bet that's the first box that they got from the factory, and that was correct. And that first box that comes in from the factory, we do checks on. It's like quality check. QA department. Our QA department just sort of tears that thing apart, looking to make sure that everything's up to spec and that the quality is correct. And as a courtesy, we get to open up some of those packs, even though they're for the QA department's use.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I could probably figure out what was in that box.
Yeah, I mean, there are people who have been quite hungry for booster box data, especially on the launch day, just to figure out like what collation looks like on a large scale. And I don't know, someone on the Facebook group, I think, would love to know what was in there just to add to their whatever spreadsheet they have. I also wanted to give big kudos on the extremely specific placement and angles of everything in that photo, right down to the Fort Max thing showing that the card's name is Fortress Maximus and it is a Titan, and that's it.
Thank you.
That was that much respect for me as someone who has done that with a podcast spoiler cast artwork once.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure that we didn't accidentally talk about things before it was time. But Fortress Maximus, Great War Veteran, is a fun card, and in a few weeks we'll be talking about him.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to. Is that seems like that's a card that's really going to open the conversation about the whole. You can't really kill a Titan mastered body in one shot because then the head pops off. Discussion
and then pops off again.
Yeah. It's a neat way how
headmasters all the way down.
What I would say is it's neat how Metroplex is a 1-wide that deploys 3 guys. Trypticon is a 1-wide that deploys 3 guys, eats them, and deploys them again. And then we've had things where it's like Omega Supreme's a 3-wide into a 1-wide, and now we've got Fortress Maximus, who's kind of doing that thing, but with his heads.
I never actually thought about it that way, but yes, that's actually true. That's absolutely true. It's just infinite ways to deploy 3 characters.
Yeah, and 3's that magic number. That's why there are no 4-part combiners. Only 3 or 5 and up. The last thing I just wanted to touch on, because we've hit time here, is I want to give a quick shout out to Brian on the Facebook group for the Wave 2 Windblade deck building challenge, because that has been a joyous, if often frustrating, part of my last month. And yesterday, myself and my friend Ryan, we shot our little deck tech about our 2 Windblade decks, and I finally hit a Windblade deck I liked. And it was interestingly timed with the stratagems, because it was really fun discovering how much I enjoyed playing a character that is not on the same level as Volcanicus, but a character who's not really used all that much, who has unique abilities. And Windblade's flippability, as of Wave 4, with all the different cards now that have 2 different pip colors, there's some stuff to do. I think there's a bit of a narrow lane, but I'm also not the smartest deck builder. But it was a lot of fun.
I am very much looking forward to see submissions from the community for that. So I thought it was really cool that the Facebook group was running that.
Yeah. I'd like to see one for Wave 2 Springer as well, right off the top of my head. But
that would be fun. Another underloved character.
Yeah, we were joking, just with the Windblade one specifically. We were joking it'd be really funny if we finished this whole thing and then they revealed a stratagem for Wave 2 Windblade and we went back and did all the work over again. But that is totally me wiggling a screwdriver. Just ignore that noise. Drew, you've got some stuff you've got to go off and do over on the West Coast?
Making card, man. I gotta make more cards.
Gotta make some more cards. Gotta cut some more of those cards out for us.
Yes, that's...
Just get back into that card mine some more cards out.
It's amazing what you guys are able to do with scissors. Like, I can barely tell. They all look like they're the same shape. Oof.
We're getting into territory I cannot discuss.
Blink twice if you need us to get you out of there.
No, it's all good. It's just how I open the door to it, how we actually like the physical processes that we use to make cards are, secret.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm going to take an educated guess. Doesn't need an answer. Probably doesn't involve someone cutting them out with scissors. Just in case someone got the wrong impression.
I think it's safe to say that I am not going with the scissors to snip.
Come on, Chris. They got the big library paper cutter thing. You know this.
Exactly. It's obvious.
All right, guys. It has been an absolute pleasure to talk to you.
And likewise. It's fun to catch up. I'm looking forward to a new set dropping. Also, I know you've heard this before. I really appreciate that we seem to be in this rhythm of maybe 3 or so sets a year rather than like 5 or 6. It's nice to relax and have like a month to mess with a card like Windblade without having to worry about a next set already about to drop.
Duly noted, and I appreciate that feedback. And as always, from the listeners, the passing on the feedback through Chris and Aaron makes its way to us, and it helps us make a better game. So again, thank you.
Yeah,
well, thank you.
We will, of course, talk to all of you probably later this month. About something or other. But if you enjoyed this recording, check out some of the other ones. We also talk about just Transformers in an audio format over on WTF.tfw2005.com. But all the TCG podcasts are cross-posted to YouTube, often with little visuals. They're fun. They take time. And if you like that stuff, there's all kinds of ways to further support that. So, Drew, thank you for joining me. Aaron, thank you as always for joining me again. And we'll talk to you all later. Have a good one. Stay safe.
Bye, everybody.
What the fuck's going on down there?